What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB. Today, we are here for another episode of Let's Talk Dynasty, and more specifically, a Dynasty trade review show. Now, all of these trades that we are going to discuss here in today's episode were submitted in our free Discord. There is a channel in there for trade reviews. If you guys want your trades reviewed on our next episode, make sure you go join that free Discord and make sure you go submit those trades with some context in that trade review channel. But like I said, this would not be an episode of Let's Talk Dynasty unless we got my co-host in the building. So let's get MFGDs in the building and let's start talking some Dynasty trades. War, how we doing today?
We good, man. We tired, but we good. We ready to roll.
I low-key feel that, dude. I feel like I lack some energy today, but I'm still going to try and bring the energy on the episode, so we should be good to go. But we probably just don't need to waste any time. We got 10 trades today, like we do, as always. A lot of these trades involve some movers that kind of saw value changes in free agency, so guys like DK, Cooper Kupp, XYZ, you know the names. Let's hop right into the first trade. The first trade that we have is a 12-team super flex, full PPR, tight end premium, start 10 type of format. The context that we got is he is a contending roster, buying DK Metcalf and a 2026 second for his 105. How do you feel about a move as a contender, spending that rookie pick, that 105, to go buy a wide receiver like DK Metcalf?
I like it. I like the DK side, and you're getting a second round pick too. There's a lot of there's a drop off once you get to 1-5 in this draft, so I do think the value is there on the DK side. I know the quarterback position is a little unsettled. It looks like Aaron Rodgers is going to be signing there. So, I mean, DK...
Maybe. He did leave the building today without a contract. So, I don't know if he's just like doing that to go see what New York's willing to offer, but he did leave without a contract today.
Yeah, he's an a-hole. But hopefully, I mean, my opinion will change if the Steelers are unable to get like a reputable quarterback out there. But I do like the DK side in this one.
Yeah, it kind of does feel like to me too, like even if they miss out on Aaron Rodgers, which I think is probably their 1A scenario that they want to do, they want to go get Aaron and bring him in with Mike Tomlin. It feels like even if that doesn't happen, they can just call up Russell Wilson and say, hey, you want to run it back for another year? And Russell Wilson will come back and run it back with them, which honestly probably wouldn't be a bad deal for DK Metcalf, who did spend some time with Russell Wilson in Seattle. I think I'm kind of similar to you, where the 105, to me, I think you can get a really, really good running back at that spot, especially if some of these guys get that round 2 draft capital. Maybe an extra guy sneaks into that first round. I've seen rumors of Omarion Hampton maybe sneaking into that first round. If he does, I think we could see a lot of running backs come off the board in day 2. And yeah, other than that, though, I think the wide receiver position is a little bit sus when it comes to trying to find a stud wide receiver. I think there's going to be some good quality wide receivers in this draft, but I don't know if we have superstar type of level wide receivers that can be there at the 105. So if you don't want to play that gamble, you don't want to play that type of game where you're hoping one of your favorite wide receivers gets a good landing spot and he's available at the 105, getting a guy like DK Metcalf, who we know he can give you those low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2 numbers when he is being featured in an offense, and you get that 26 second back, it feels like a safe move. Maybe not the most exciting move or the most, flashy move ever, but it feels like a safe move where you kind of hedge some of those risks of the rookie pick.
Yeah. I don't, like you said, these wide receivers in this draft are a little bit sus, but we know there'll be some guy that comes from out of nowhere that we don't expect, and he ends up being a stud. But I mean, who would that be? I don't know. Maybe Luther Burton. I don't know. But yeah, man. This is good value to me.
Yeah, I don't hate this at all. I think this is fine. Let's move on to our next trade here. The next trade is, speaking of wide receivers that came out of nowhere as rookies, it involves Puka Nacua. It is a 12-team super flex, half point per reception, and a tight end premium. So half PPR league, you receive Puka Nacua. You give up the 103 and the 112 as rookie picks. I'm assuming this is also somewhat of a contending roster as well. We don't have that context, but I'm assuming so when you're trading your rookie picks away. But how do you feel about this one, moving the rookie picks to get Puka Nacua?
Like the Puka Nacua side here too. Once again, 103, 112. I mean, the drop off after the first 2 is pretty noticeable. And you're getting a stud wide receiver now. Well, not lone wide receiver because you got Davante Adams there, but I'm pretty sure he's still the 1A on the Rams. So you're getting a stud wide receiver for the price of the third pick in the draft, and a late second, like 12 players in. Like, so would typically be like a 10 team league. You're getting a 12th player. So I think I take the Puka Nacua side, much like the DK trade. But to me, in this trade, this one's even more towards the player side of the deal.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree here as well. I think if you offered me Puka Nacua for my 101, I'm trading you my 101 to get Puka Nacua. I think he's that valuable. He's probably more valuable than Ashton Jeanty to me currently right now at this time and place. When it comes to the 103 and the 112, I am going to push back with you. I know we've said it a little bit before earlier in the offseason, but I do think that 103, to me, Omarion Hampton is starting to cement himself as a top 3 pick, and he is in that same type of range as guys like Tet to me. So it does go with that first tier where it's Ashton Jeanty, and then in that second tier to me, it's Tet McMillan and Omarion Hampton. Those guys are as good as they come, and I also think that TreVeyon Henderson, assuming he gets decent draft capital, can also be in that tier as well. So I think we could have 4 guys that I'm really in love with as prospects if they get the best draft capital that we assume that they are going to get. But at the end of the day, even then, like Omarion Hampton and 112, a guy like maybe Colston Loveland in this tight end premium type of format, to me, that's just not, super exciting. I'd rather go with the Puka Nacua side and just get the bona fide superstar type of wide receiver. And maybe a hot take, maybe not a hot take. I don't really know. The temperature of people's opinion on how Davante Adams is going to affect this offense, I think is going to range from a whole wide range of things. But to me, I think if you were to ask me today, hey, what is the probability of Puka Nacua finishing as a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy football next year in 2025? I'd probably put the probability chance at like 85%. He's a top 5 wide receiver. I think he's going to be dominant next year for the Rams.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, there is a question how much Stafford has left in the tank, but that's to be determined, and we'll see. But I could definitely see a dominant season for Puka coming up here.
Fair enough. All right, let's go on to the next one. We had 2 of those rookie pick trades out of the way. Speaking of rookie picks, here's another one, but this time it's the 101. 12-team super flex, full PPR, and tight end premium. The context that I got was he is concerned that we have seen the peak value out of Saquon Barkley, and so he is trying to capitalize and sell away Saquon Barkley at this peak value. So AMJ receives 101 Ashton Jeanty and Bucky Irving for Saquon Barkley in the 108. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, I'm not selling Saquon. I'm sorry, I'm not taking the risk of selling Saquon until I see Saquon fall off. I've seen this with McCaffrey for a little while. I've seen it with Derrick Henry, where you're just like, oh, these guys are about to fall off, so you try to forecast when the fall off happens, and then all of a sudden, he's still out there scoring ungodly amounts of points. So no, I'm not trading Saquon here. I mean, there's a world where maybe Ashton Jeanty isn't as great as like people think he is, man. I'm just gonna go with the sure thing. I know it's exciting to get 101 and everything, but you're getting Saquon and a steal a first round pick. Yeah, man. I'm on the Saquon side here.
Yeah, I hear your argument. I do disagree with you. I think I would rather be out a year early or 2 years early, maybe sometimes on the older running back, and maybe you miss out on some of that production. But when I feel like you're getting a replaceable asset, like to me, Saquon Barkley and Jeanty, when I'm thinking about market value and how these players are going to be perceived in a dynasty trade market, maybe just a few months from now, I almost believe that, and I do believe that Ashton Jeanty is going to be perceived as more valuable than Saquon Barkley almost immediately out of the gate. I think it's going to be Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Ashton Jeanty as the top 3 dynasty running backs as the top valuable assets in the market. And so to me, you're almost upgrading in value or perceived value from Saquon Barkley to the 101 and Ashton Jeanty, and then you're trading that 108 for Bucky Irving. This is, in my opinion, a no-brainer. I'm definitely taking the 101 and the Bucky Irving. I feel like I'm getting younger. I might be improving my value overall in the trade market, and I may be getting equal or somewhat equal production a year down the road from now or 2 years down the road from now. I feel like I'm definitely winning this type of trade if Jeanty is who we think he's going to be. So, and that doesn't even consider the fact that Bucky Irving could come in and be a top 12 running back next year for the Buccaneers as well. So, I think, to me, I do disagree with that. I love Saquon. I think he's a superstar, and I think he's going to be really good next year as well. Like you said, they gave him some new money. He's got all the same stuff coming back for him, but I'm thinking a little bit more long-term with this one, and I think Jeanty, to me, this just feels like you're going to make more money on your investment, I guess, in these players prioritizing these picks long term than you are with Saquon.
Yeah, man, I hear you, man. Usually, man, I'm the picks guy. I'm the guy that leans with the picks and everything. It's just this time, man, I don't want the same thing to happen to me in the past where I trade the older guy and he's still out there helping you win championships, man. So, I
Fair enough.
mean, I see both sides, but yeah, man, Saquon, he's a dude.
Let us know in the comments down below. If you guys are right here, go down to the comments. Let us know at the time of the NFL draft who is going to be more valuable, Saquon Barkley or Ashton Jeanty in Dynasty leagues. I'd be interested to see how the public kind of feels about that statement. Let's go to the next trade here. We got some young guys. 10-team Superflex, full PPR, tight end premium. Team 1 says they needed a running back upgrade. They also had some quarterback depth, so don't worry about the quarterback depth. It should be fine. But they get Achane and Russell Wilson, who obviously we're still waiting on some news for Russell. Where is he going to go? We don't know. But they trade away J.J. McCarthy and Tyrone Tracy Jr. I remember him as Tyrone Tracy Jr., and then Sleepers dropped the Jr. for some reason. I don't really know why, but it's just Tyrone Tracy, I guess, now. But anyways, that is the trade. How you feeling about trading McCarthy and Tracy for Achane and Wilson?
I mean, honestly, and I know we probably feel different than other people feel. I know McCarthy's a risk, but
I think people are starting to come around on McCarthy. I think people are starting to come around.
Yeah, I'm like, if I'm trading McCarthy, I'm not trading Tracy and McCarthy. Even though I don't think Tracy's a big deal, it's just that I feel like McCarthy is enough. He's a quarterback. This is a super flex league, and his coach is Kevin O'Connell. So I mean, I think I could see a scenario where even midway through the season, we're like, man, I got finessed in this deal because Achane's. I mean, he's a stud running back, but he's a running back. McCarthy has the chance to be like a decades-long legitimate starter in the NFL.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think McCarthy, and again, folks at home, you guys kind of know this. There's a little bit of homerism in my wanting to root for JJ McCarthy, but I do believe that he has the tools, and I think he has the skill set, and the situation around him I think is incredible. Talking about a team that upgraded the offensive line this offseason, basically told Aaron Rodgers, like, yeah, we know you want to play for us, but we're not interested in you. Like, having Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, not like it's a big deal, but they added like guys like Rondell Moore and brought back Aaron Jones. Like, there's going to be a ton of weapons, Hawkinson as well. There's a ton of weapons for McCarthy to be successful. My only argument here is that in a 10-team league, McCarthy needs to be just that much better for him to be a bona fide locked in your lineup every type of week type of guy. And I think he can develop into that guy. But I would say that QB2 position in the 10-team league, or the Superflex position, I guess, however you want to view it. I kind of just view the Superflex as an additional QB spot for the most part. It does feel like it's a little bit less valuable in those 10-man leagues, just because, you only need 20 guys every week to be in those starting lineups, whereas those 12-man leagues, it's a little bit deeper, and then having the depth to have a QB3 and all that other stuff, it's a little bit more important. So from a value standpoint, I think it makes sense. Saying you need a running back upgrade, it makes sense to me as well. Getting Achane, I think that's a significant running back upgrade. I think he's a guy that's going to be a top 7 running back when Tua is healthy on the football field. Achane should be incredible. And they move on from Raheem Mostert. Jalen Wright should still be there. I think he's going to have a better year too. He's going to be kind of a sneaky guy that I think is fantasy relevant this year. And then Russell Wilson's kind of a wild card to me. I think he could possibly land in a starting situation this season, but I would almost put it at 50-50 chance that Russell Wilson might be the odd man out. When I'm looking at this and I'm looking at teams that could draft Shador and Cam Ward, and then teams that want Aaron Rodgers, there's going to be one or two odd man out, and it may be Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson. That's just kind of the vibes that I'm getting right now. But we'll see what happens, man. He could be a starting quarterback, and I think if he does become a starting quarterback in 2025, you got some sneaky value there. Tracy, to me, he's a replaceable running back. There's not too much more to it. He's a guy that I've been selling all offseason, and I drafted him a lot last year in 4th rounds and 5th rounds of rookie drafts, and now I've been trying to flip him for 2nd round picks this year because I just don't think he has the job security long-term to be a bona fide stud. We've seen guys of his type come through before, James Robinsons, Phillip Lindsay's, all of these other guys that are late round picks that come in, they become fantasy relevant for, a 2-year period of time, and then they kind of just disappear. That's just kind of the archetype of these types of guys. Now, there are outliers. I don't believe Tracy's the outlier. Sorry if you're a big Tracy guy and that offends you, I'm sorry. That's the way that I see it. But to me, that's a long way of going about saying that I think it's a fair deal. I think you accomplished your goal of getting Achane, and if you have the quarterback depth, that's fine. But I agree with you in the aspect war where you could look at this, 12 months from now and say, God damn, JJ McCarthy is a superstar and he's got everything around him that we want for the next 3 years because he's on that rookie contract and has all of those weapons around him with the coaching.
Yeah. I think we're on the same page. It's crazy how I'm a Bears fan. Look, if you want no further testament than the greatness of Kevin O'Connell, look no further than the fact that I'm a Bears fan and I seem to constantly be singing the praises of Kevin O'Connell and JJ McCarthy. I just think Tracy is a replaceable running back. That's not the case for Achane, but we all know the concerns with Achane. We know the concerns with the Dolphins offense. That plus the huge potential of player coach boost. What I called the other day, the Kevin O'Connell PED.
Yeah. The performance enhancing drug of Kevin O'Connell.
The performance enhancing drug of Kevin O'Connell. Like, yeah, man, I'm not taking that risk, man. Like, if you want to do McCarthy, Achane straight up because you need running back depth, okay, I'm with you on that. But if in any other circumstance, honestly, I'm probably like Achane plus, like for McCarthy. I know that sounds crazy, but that's just where I'm at.
Yeah, fair enough, man. I can't get enough of JJ McCarthy in my leagues. I've been trying to buy him everywhere, and I think everybody knows in all of my leagues that I'm a Vikings fan, and they're giving me the Vikings tax. And unfortunately, giving me the fan tax doesn't necessarily work for you in leagues. I will, maybe to a fault at times, be stubborn enough to let that guy on my Vikings team be a good fantasy asset for you rather than overpay to get your to take your deal. Sometimes I'm stubborn, bro. It is what it is. Let's move on to the next one. 12-team super flex, full PPR, tight end premium, and we got a 6-point passing touchdown with 10-man starting lineups. We are getting a up tier here. So Lamar Jackson for Joe Burrow, Najee Harris, and the 112. You're basically down tiering from Lamar for those 3 assets. But I guess in this case, the person who submitted is the one who is using those assets to up tier. How do you feel about this type of deal?
Man, look, first of all, I don't know what's happened. I understand the greatness of Lamar Jackson. But I still kind of look at him and Joe Burrow as kind of equal, man. Like, just from my position, because I have a couple of shares of Joe Burrow. I'm not about to go out and pay Joe Burrow plus. I don't care if the plus is out of shape Najee and the 12th pick of the draft. I'm still looking at this as a straight up deal. I know everybody not going to agree with me because of rushing upside, this, that, and the third. But they just straight up committed to Joe Burrow, man. They committed to making sure that he is going to forever be in a position where he's in a positive game script because their defense isn't going to stop anybody, and he's going to have 2 of the top receivers, if not one of the top receivers in the NFL. And then, like you said last week about Najee, okay, I can see that turning into a big deal too, man. This is going to sound weird, man. I feel like it's too much to give up just for Lamar Jackson, man.
Yeah, I mean, look, we play in a lot of 6-point passing touchdown leagues. In fact, that's the main format that you and I like to play in, just because it does kind of, in my opinion, balance out the playing field of those rushing upside quarterbacks and those passing quarterbacks. And last year in those 6-point pass touchdown leagues, Lamar Jackson was QB1, Joe Burrow was QB2. So you're moving from QB1 last year to QB2, and you get Najee Harris in the 112. I'm kind of with you here, man. I think Joe Burrow long term, we've seen them lock up Chase. We've seen them lock up T. Higgins. Even Gesicki got an extension for what it's worth. Like, they're going to have a loaded offense for a while, and Joe Burrow is going to have his guys for a while, and he's going to be throwing the football a ton. When it comes down to it, I think Najee Harris in the 112, even though it feels like it's not, a ton, people aren't super excited when you say Najee Harris. In the 112, it's the last pick in the first round, so people are like, I don't want the late one. But it's enough for me to make the tier down. I think I prefer the Burrow, the Najee, and the 112 side, but I could make an argument that depending on who his running back depth is on his team, Najee could have just been a bench piece for him, especially based off of last year's production, and he gave up a bench piece and his last pick from winning the championship, maybe because he's the 112. Maybe he won the championship and now he just upgraded to Lamar. So I think it's a fair deal, probably. I think, in my opinion, I'm more often than not going to take the side that gets the 3 assets when I feel like the 2 main assets in Lamar and Joe Burrow are somewhat similar of value and probably give you somewhat similar production long term. I agree with you too, and I I'm just going to reiterate what you said. I understand the greatness of Lamar Jackson and what he did last year. In fact, it was crazy what he did, because I was looking at like fantasy points per games, and in those 6-point passing touchdown leagues, he was averaging like 30 apiece every game, which is insane. But I think that there's probably a chance that if you are down tiering from Lamar right now, you're probably making the right decision, because we've seen Lamar be very good, and then we've seen him be meh, and then we've seen him be very good. We've seen him be meh. I just feel like there's a chance that Lamar Jackson is as good he is for fantasy football. I think taking the extra assets might just be a good piece here. I don't know. I've been trying to down tier Lamar in some of my leagues, and the sentiment that I get from some people in our leagues is that they don't value Lamar Jackson as highly as maybe the market perceives Lamar right now, because I can't get even down tiers like this. People aren't even entertaining down tiers like this for me in our leagues.
Well, you can't really judge about our leagues. Our leagues are like just a bunch of guys who don't trust nobody, and who, especially you.
They don't trust me. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, man. Too much success. You're the Kansas City Chiefs.
Whatever.
Yeah, man. I don't know, man. Like the more I look at this deal, I'm actually leaning heavy on the Joe Burrow side, bro. I'm not even
Really?
lying.
Okay.
That's no disrespect to Lamar at all, man. Like, because with that package, I could get Loveland, I could get like Puka, and I got a running back that has the potential to get ran into the ground this season by that coaching staff. I mean, yeah, dude. Like, and this is a more of a win now and win later on that side. So
Yeah, I'm gonna view it more so as a fair deal than anything. But I think Najee, people are gonna hate Najee because of years of people telling you Najee's trash. I think if they don't address running back in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft this year, Najee's gonna flirt with top 15 running back numbers this year, whether people like it or not. So I
I'm
hear you.
probably a Joe Burrow fan too, though.
Fair. I think everybody likes Joe Burrow, but I'm gonna deem it as fair. You'll take the Burrow side. Let's move on to the next one though. 12 teams, super flex, full PPR, a half point tight end premium, and a start 10. Another down tier move, I guess an up tier move for Luke. He gets Nico Collins. He trades away Devonta Smith, Travis Etienne, and the 202 in a 12-man, so the 14th player. How you feeling here?
I guess I'm gonna go with the Nico Collins side. This trade isn't like as lopsided, even though I really don't mess with ETN no more, man. Like I don't mess with him like that. But 202 should be able to still get a pretty decent running back right there. Devonta Smith, he's no slouch, but he is just the wide receiver too on that team right now. Nico Collins is like the bona fide wide receiver one. Stephon Diggs not coming back. Christian Kirk is only competition. Tank Dell, we don't know if or when he'll ever play. So we know he is the man in there. I do have some serious concern about CJ Stroud and how he's going to be delivering him that ball with that turnstile offensive line that he's about to have. But I will still lean Nico Collins here because I don't mess with ETN, and I know that Devonta Smith, while good, is the inferior wide receiver compared to Nico Collins, even with the pick. So that's where I'm at on this one.
Yeah, to me, look, I think ETN, I know you said you don't mess with him. I think he's a sneaky buy low this offseason. I've been trying to throw some offers out there just to see, because it does feel like his price is pretty low. A lot of people aren't really messing with ETN these days, which is fine. I understand. He didn't do anything last year to give you any type of excitement. But other than that, I just wanted to throw that out there as like a other piece for people if they feel like they want to buy low on ETN. But to me, this is an easy, very easy Nico Collins side to me. When we're talking about players that can contend for a top 5 wide receiver next year, I think Nico Collins is on the short list there of players that can do it. And he's an absolute dominant alpha wide receiver one, elite. Like, I don't know if people even recognize at this point, and maybe this sounds outlandish to some people, but I firmly believe this. When we're talking about elite wide receivers, like Nico Collins belongs in the same type of conversation right now to me in fantasy as a guy like CeeDee Lamb. You should be viewing CeeDee Lamb and Nico Collins very similarly right now. I just believe they're both that type of talent, and I'm giving this type of package very easily to upgrade into that type. So yeah, just give me Nico.
I was riding with you, man, like I always do, man. I was riding side by side with you, man, until you start saying Nico and CeeDee Lamb was on the same level. And that's not to say that Nico Collins is not like a bona fide wide receiver one. He is. It's just that in the tier where I have Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, like there's like a small gap. There's a small gap, and then there's CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I'm not putting Nico Collins in that tier with CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown right now.
I think Nico
So
and Puka probably should be in the back end of that same tier, dude.
I feel like they're in the next tier.
At the
Like
top of
they
it.
would, yeah. And I mean, who else are we throwing there? AJ Brown? No. Like who else are we
I
throwing
think
that
AJ
tier?
Brown as a talent should be up there, but I think value wise, he's a little bit older than these guys, so I think his value's fallen in dynasty leagues.
I'm trying to think who else we put there because that Puka and Nico
Uh,
Collins tier.
Malik Neighbors is up there.
Yes, we got to put Malik Neighbors in there, man. Like, yeah, we got to put him in
There's probably some other guys that we're forgetting off the top of our head, but
well, that'll be another
oh,
video for another day.
BTJ maybe up there.
He's
I
flirting
know,
with that tier. He's flirting with
yeah.
that tier.
So, anyways, that's kind of maybe that's the tier, bro. Maybe it's Nico, Puka, Malik, and BTJ all in that tier right there with each other. Maybe I think Malik's probably closer to the top. I'd take Malik over Nico and Puka right now. But anyways, back to the trade. I think for me, it's just this isn't enough value to give up Nico Collins. So for Luke's sake, the guy who submitted this is an easy accept for me. I'm definitely upgrading to Nico Collins if it just costs me Smith, ETN, and the 202.
Yeah, hell yeah. I wish somebody would let me trade for Nico for that price.
Facts.
Like, yeah.
Speaking of CeeDee, speaking of CeeDee, 12
And
team
speaking
super
of
flex,
Amon-Ra,
full PPR, tight end premium, start 11. You got CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott being acquired for Justin Fields, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and the 211. I guess we just talked about this a little
bro,
bit,
yeah,
but how you feel?
bro, this is gonna be so easy because I literally just spoke on it. If I see CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra as being in the same tier, that means now I'm just looking at Dak Prescott for Justin Fields in 211. And I'm sorry, I'm still taking Dak Prescott. I'm still
Interesting.
taking
Okay.
I
So
know
I'm gonna
you.
play.
I know you're in this Fields renaissance right now.
Well, look, I don't want to get too over my skis. I do still believe that Justin Fields is probably more likely than not the starting quarterback for the Jets within 2 seasons. Like, I think his 2-year deal that he has here is probably the 2-year deal that he gets. Unless he shows major signs of improvement as a passer, which I don't know if he's necessarily going to do that. But
It could be built.
but that said, I do think that Justin Fields as a fantasy football asset is going to outscore Dak Prescott next year.
I could see that.
I think he would. Just with the rushing upside alone. And so, to me, this is more so, do you want the safety and the longevity of Lamb and Prescott, or do you want to take the shot on Justin Fields being a top 10 quarterback and pair him with a guy in a similar tier in Amon-Ra St. Brown on the 211? That 211 to me is the insurance. We talk about sometimes in trades, when you take risk, the guy taking risk wants a little bit of insurance, and the insurance is sometimes the overpay. And the overpay in this maybe is the 211. So I think from a value standpoint, you probably come out on top if you're getting the Justin Fields, the Amon-Ra, and the 211 side. But I think Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb is the side that is safe and I know is going to give me very, very good fantasy football numbers for the next couple of years. It sounds like a cop-out. This is a good trade to me, though. I think it's fair either way. You can make arguments either way. I think the Fields and Amon-Ra side could be more exciting. You might get more fantasy football points out of it, but it's hard to turn down that safety in Lamb and Prescott, especially if you view a potential regression from Amon-Ra St. Brown with Ben Johnson out of Detroit.
Okay, now let me play devil's advocate to my own point that I just made.
All right.
So let's look at Justin Fields. If we get, we, as in the people who own Fields, if we get 2022 Justin Fields for the New York Jets, he's going to outscore Dak Prescott in a landslide. I mean, if you guys ever want to take back, even some of the games in 2023, 2024, it's kind of he didn't get the opportunity that he probably should have gotten, but his weeks were okay, early on after the first couple games. But if you look at his 2022, I mean, he has 50-point game, 30-point game, 40-point game, 23, 25. Like
And
he
to
put up
remind the people at
numbers.
home, of 2022, that was the year where it was just DJ Moore and Darnell Mooney on the roster, and Justin Fields was basically losing damn near every game for the Bears, but he was scoring a ton of fantasy football points.
Yeah, and they were running him like crazy. So, like, just to break it down from like a quick Bears history perspective, I'm not giving the whole history, Andrew, don't worry. So in 2022, the Bears were like, okay, it's almost like they knew Justin Fields could run, but they didn't know he could run that good. That's 2022, I believe. That's the same season where he had that monster game against Miami with where freaking the coach why can't I recall his name right now? Mike McDaniel. Well, Mike McDaniel was like, hey, stop it, stop running all over us and all that. That was that season. And for some reason, the season after that, the Bears told him to stop running. And then the Steelers, I don't know what they were telling. So my whole point is that if New York goes into this with the plan of we're going to use Justin's legs and we're going to supplement his legs with his arm, like legs first, then arm, like, or like a more equal balance, you could see a top 10 fantasy quarterback season from Justin Fields. I kid you not. So this deal may not be, it could lean either way heavily depending on what happened.
Yeah. And last year too, in his starts for the Steelers, you said it wasn't fantastic. There wasn't like world breaking numbers, but he still was the quarterback 9 from a fantasy points per game perspective as a starter for the Steelers. So he was putting up top 10 numbers last year just running as the starter for the Steelers. So I think there's a world where it happens. Hopefully when he does throw, he's just feeding the hell out of Garrett Wilson, because we need that for fantasy purposes. Because I think Garrett Wilson, he's a weird case, because I feel like he's a player where we've all been very excited and we think he can take that elevated up into that next level. But it's kind of been like 3 years, and I know the situation hasn't been great, but it's always every year it's like, okay, but next year he can do it. It's like eventually we got to put up or shut up, Garrett Wilson. You could just be a high-end wide receiver too. That's fine. You could be in the same tier as T. Higgins. But I think some people still view him as, like, we were talking about guys like Nacua and Nico and Neighbors. I think some people still think he can be that guy.
Yeah, Wilson used to be what Neighbors is now.
Yeah, he was the dynasty darling for a long time, and it's starting to cool. We'll see what happens, but I'm gonna deem this as a fair trade. I think you could go either way. I like it either way. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with Fields there in New York. Let's go to this trade here. We got some veterans now. A veteran move: 10-team Superflex, half point per reception in a tight end premium league. Team 1 gets Tyreek Hill and Chris Godwin. Team 2 gets Davante Adams, Aaron Jones, and a 26 second. How you feel about this?
Man, there's a lot of old guys from in football years going around this trade. 15 kid Tyreek Hill, 2 bum leg Chris Godwin, last leg Davante Adams, and even more last leg
Aaron Jones.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm gonna take the Hill Godwin side just on the strength that, like, I still think Tyreek Hill is the best player in this trade. Chris Godwin, we'll see. If his legs holds up, we know he'll be good. I think Davante Adams will be good, and I think Aaron Jones will be serviceable. But at the end of the day, I take Hill over Adams. I take Godwin over Jones. Second round pick is nice. I mean, it makes it more even than anything, but I just think Tyreek Hill, man, we're like, what, one season? Last season was a down season. We're one season away from Tyreek Hill just being a world breaker.
Yeah, I mean, he was a top 5 wide receiver, and it wasn't even close. And I think a lot of people are really negatively discounting Tyreek Hill because Tua was injured last year. Keep in mind, it wasn't even Tyreek necessarily playing bad football. It was Tua was out the majority of the year. That it was a lost cause for the Miami Dolphins for a good chunk of their season. I think for me, when I'm looking at this trade and I'm trying to break it down, I look at how do I feel about Tyreek versus Davante Adams long term. These are the 2 main pieces in the deal, and the others are the secondary pieces. For me, if it's Adams and Hill, I think both of these guys could come out next year and be wide receiver 1s. I think that Tyreek Hill is more likely than Adams to be a wide receiver 1, just because there's a little bit less age on him, and I still think he has some of the big playability, especially when we're looking at the format of this league being a half-point PPR league, where big plays and touchdowns are going to benefit you a little bit more than just the guy catching 7 or 8 passes. I think Adams can give you the big plays. I think he can give you touchdowns, but Tyreek can do it more often. So because of that, I'm going to put Tyreek Hill just a little bit above Davante Adams as far as my rankings and my values. And then when it comes to Chris Godwin for Aaron Jones in a 26 second, I'll take the chance on Godwin over the veteran running back in the second round pick next year. So I think both sides of the deal, I go to the Hill and Godwin side. So that's the way that I would break it down. I still like Adams a lot. I think Adams is going to have a really good year. I'm probably going to be drafting in redraft leagues and in best ball single season format leagues. I'm going to be drafting a ton of Davante Adams because I think he's going to be really solid in 2025 with the last of what Stafford has left in the tank. But I'm more confident that Tyreek Hill can give me 2 more years or 3 more years of production, whereas I'm not as confident in Adams doing that. So overall, just a I lean the Tyreek Hill and the Chris Godwin side, not by a landslide, but I lean that way, so I'm going to take that side.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I'm banking on a big bounce back year for Tyreek Hill in the season coming up.
It's hard to look at Adams though, because he looks sweet in that Rams uni. It does look pretty good on him.
Yeah. I think Adams is gonna have a great season too. I just think Tyreek Hill is gonna have another Tyreek Hill season this season, unless something happens to Tua.
Yeah, which is always going to be the risk, right? It's always going to be the risk. But also at this point in his career, if Stafford goes down too, that Rams offense could be putrid. So it's going to be tough to tell. We'll see. That you can.
That's in it.
I don't even know if he's on the roster right now. Jimmy G is the backup right now. I think is who they re-signed Jimmy G. Which Davante Adams was talking about. He was going to lose his effing life if remember in Receiver on Netflix he said I'm about to lose my effing life. And he said get me out of here. So if it comes back to Jimmy Garoppolo being the starter, it's the same thing as he had in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So that would be a crazy way for this all to come full circle. But I'm going to go to the Hill and the Godwin side. Let's go to this one over here. Eddie and Luke, we got a 12-team super flex, half PPR, and a tight end premium league. We got a little bit of a wide receiver deal. Some young guys. People are excited about these players. Drake London and a 2026 second being received for Rashee Rice, the 112 and the 301. Obviously, he is up tiering from Rashee to Drake London, but how do you feel about that in a half-point PPR format?
Me personally, I would take the Drake London side, but I think this deal is pretty fair. You're getting Rashee Rice, you're getting a first-round pick, the third is whatever, and you're getting up a 2026 second. This deal is so close that, like, honestly, would easily lead in the Drake side 100% if it was a 25 second. But since it's not, I think the deal is pretty fair. I don't have too many gripes about the deal. My preference would be the Drake London side, but it seems pretty equal to me.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a debate. I think some people, depending on who you talk to, might have London and Rice in the same tier of wide receiver. But I think for me, I would put London in a tier above Rice currently, just based off their situations. And obviously, Rice is coming off of an injury, which is a little bit tougher the next year to come off of an injury. And just the pace of play of some of those teams. Obviously, the Chiefs, they didn't play as fast as they normally have in years past last year. But overall, I think this is a fair trade, like you said. If you're maybe a retooling roster, not a full rebuild, if you're just a team that needs to retool and get some youth, I'm okay with you down tiering your London to Rice to get that first round pick this year and get that third round pick this year, because it does give you a little bit of extra juice in the depth department of your roster. But straight up, if it's a contending roster, really anything other than a retool, just give me the bona fide superstar is what I believe he is in Drake London with Michael Penix, and I'll take the 26 second and just use that to buy another player in the trade market or just draft a player next year. So I'll take the London side, but it's definitely a close deal and it's definitely a fair deal. I don't have any gripes about either side.
Yeah. It's not too bad. Like it could lean either way based on preference.
Fair. All right, let's go to this one. This is the last trade, and I put this in here because my reaction when I saw this was holy hell, what is happening? I had to stare at this for a second when I looked at it. For the folks at home listening on the podcast version, it's a 10-team league, super flex, full PPR, tight end premium, and start 9. Now, buckle in because I'm going to tell you all the players that are in this deal. The receiving side of this deal is Patrick Mahomes, Drake London, Michael Penix, Brian Thomas, the 106, the 109, a 26 first round pick, and a 26 second round pick. What they gave away to get all of that value was Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Sam Laporta. So I see you trying to take it in here, War. How are we going to start breaking this down, and how do we feel about this? Just initial gut reaction.
You know what, man? This is definitely an old war style trade. This is definitely the type of trades I used to do with our boy Matt. And I'm telling you right now, just looking at this trade got me excited because I look at all this on the left side and I'm like, would I give that up for a chance to get Joe Burrow, JJ, and Jamar Chase? Yes. Yes, I would trade. If someone told me that there was an opportunity to get those receivers and that quarterback, I would find everything that's not bolted to the floor and trade it for those players. Like, I wouldn't even, I would make the trade and think about it later. I don't think you're going to agree with me, but damn it, I would do it.
No, so I'm actually, I'll tell you what, if this was a 12-team start 10 type of format, I think you have a real argument of going the London, Penix, Brian Thomas side because of all the value that you get. But because this is a 10-team league and it is start 9 shallow rosters and a shallow league, superstars matter, and there are very few superstars like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and Joe Burrow. You're getting the LSU trio, so obviously that's the side that everyone's going to lean to, and that's the side that I'm going to take in that format. But I want to go through and kind of break it down just to kind of show you how I'm viewing it for the most part. But I feel like for me, when it comes to the wide receivers, like if I'm going to go from London to Jefferson, you probably have to go London and the 106 plus probably that 26 second to get to Jefferson. For Brian Thomas, you probably got to go BTJ, the 109 and the 26 first to get to Chase, which then that leaves you with Penix for Laporta, probably fine. And then that leaves you with Mahomes for Burrow. So I think you can definitely kind of paint the picture. I probably went a little bit aggressive with the wide receivers, but that's kind of the way that I'd be viewing it. I wish we had more context from this submission, because they did not say whether or not they were rebuilding or retooling, because I think that could make you sway and understand that side of the argument a little bit more. If they said, hey, I'm a rebuilding roster and I've just won 2 or 3 championships in a row with Burrow and Jefferson, but I need to kind of retool this thing and I'm going to down tier to London and Thomas and get all these first round picks and stuff, I could see the argument for that. But just in a bubble straight up trying to, if you know, what we got to do here is pick a winner of the deal. When I'm looking at this format, a shallow 10-team league start 9, give me the superstars in Jefferson, Chase, and Burrow. That's just the way that I go here. But I thought this trade was, I've never seen a trade like this really submitted in our Discord, I think, at this point, where you're talking about, you know, wide receiver 1 overall and wide receiver 2 overall, however you want to flip those two guys. You're talking about both of them going away from your roster.
Yeah. Well, okay, let me ask you this. If you are on the left side trading all those assets, what's the one, receiving all those assets, what's the one piece in that, on that side, that would make you feel good about the deal? I want to see if we have the same one.
What player do I feel the best about on my left side of the deal?
Like it could be any of those assets. What asset on that side would you be like, okay, well, I gave up JJ and Chase, but at least I got
BTJ.
Here. Okay, I got the same answer.
Yeah, at least I got BTJ, because I feel like BTJ,
he could become them, but he gives me the best shot of becoming them.
And that's the way I view it too. If any of these guys were to take a next step up into an elite level, it's probably Brian Thomas.
Yeah.
Anyways, I thought that was a fun one. You guys let me know in the comments down below too. If you made it to this point and you saw this trade, are you leaning the LSU trio, or are you taking the package here with all of those young assets plus Mahomes and the draft picks? I think that's an interesting conversation, because I think you could go either way. But for me, I'm taking the LSU trio of Burrow, Jefferson, Chase.
Yeah, man, that's hard. That's too hard to pass up.
And then I'm changing my team name to 2019 LSU. That's just what I'm doing. It was 2019, right? 2019?
Yeah, or I'm changing it to double J, triple J.
Triple. There you go. J3.
Yeah,
there you go.
J3.
Anyways, that's it. That was the last trade in today's video. So like I said at the beginning, at the top of the episode, if you guys want your trades potentially to be reviewed on our next episode, we're going to try and get back into doing them every other week, twice a month now. So make sure you go to the Discord, join the free Discord, go to the trade reviews channel, and submit those trades in that Discord. Now, for people at home, I had a couple people say that they were, having some issues. There is a rules channel. So if you go into the Discord, you have to verify that you agree to the rules of the Discord. It's like basic Discord moderation rules. You will not see the trade review channel until you agree to those rules. So make sure you agree to the rules, and then you'll have access to it. So I had a couple people have some issues. That's what you got to do. Other than that, though, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Trying to get to 5,000 by the NFL draft. It's gonna be tough, but I think if we have enough people who haven't been subscribed to this channel, go down there and click that button for us. We can definitely do it. And then also make sure you hit the like button. That is the best free way to show this channel some support. It helps us in the algorithm, push this channel to new viewers, helps us grow. And comments also help us do that as well. So if you had something that you wanted to say to us in the comments down below, go down and do that. It helps us out as well. So all of that interaction that you do with this video, subscribing, liking, commenting, it helps us. And also, if you want to go support War with some of his other content, he does some wrestling content, WWE, AEW. You can go find that out. But War, where can they find you at?
We're on a bit of sabbatical, but we're returning soon. We have 2 channels, Crimson Mass Pro Wrestling and the Crimson Mass Show. We do have some stuff coming up, plans, just some things got sidetracked for a second, but we will be back. We will be stronger than ever. We will be back very soon, as in probably this weekend. So be on the lookout.
Hell yeah. But that's it, folks. That's all I have for you today. We will see you for our next episode on Monday. On Monday, I think I'm going to talk about some potential buys in the trade market right now that I'd be looking at. But We will see you at that episode. Nothing else for you today. Until then, peace out.